The first of many face-offs between Isagi and Rin is just about to start as the kickoff begins, and Isagi starts off by passing Bachira. Ryu tells Tokimitsu to take care of Bachira, and he nervously says that he got it. Bachira then looks fired up and says that their rankings are just the order they passed after all, and that he isn't scared. He then takes out his signature super fast scissors, which leaves Tokimitsu in awe, and before he can even realize it, Bachira has already gotten behind him. Tokimitsu apologizes. Meanwhile, Bachira says that he also happened to level up in that blue lockman room. Isagi compliments him, and Bachira says that Rin is up next. Isagi is next to him and wants him to do a 1-2 pass, but just then, Bachira crosses the ball high up on the field. It's heading to Nagi, but just then, Ryu appears behind him, looking pretty scary. Anyway, Ryu tells Nagi that he will stop him in style, but that's when Nagi just lightly taps the ball, which makes it go back, and this shocks Ryu. But Nagi says that this distance and timing, this is all his range. And we then see Isagi running towards the ball in full speed. He looks completely devoured in aura, as he tells himself to focus on meeting the ball, and that he doesn't need any unnecessary power, calling it his new direct shot, which he shoots, and it flawlessly goes past Ryu, and right into the goal, giving Team Isagi the first goal. Isagi is super ecstatic, and says that because of the training with the Blue Lockman, his level has definitely risen. Bachira asks him if his shooting accuracy has gotten better, and Nagi adds in that he isn't wasting any movements anymore. They all then go to celebrate, and Isagi thinks to himself that since they understand each other's weapons, they can attack like this exactly because it's the three of them, thinking that it is totally working, and that they are seriously strong, even strong enough to win against the top 3 in Blue Lock. But we then see Rin letting out a sigh, which catches Isagi's immediate attention. Rin then says enough, and that he has just about got their level. He then looks sad, or rather disappointed, as he says that he feels so lukewarm that he could die, telling them that they still think that fighting with this one ball is nothing but a sport, asking them if they can just disappear, and calls this a battlefield, telling them that they are showing their backs against soldiers with guns, which is why he is saying that he feels so lukewarm, and he then puts the ball on the starting line before he without any hesitation shoots it right into the net right from kickoff, and scores his team's first goal, which leaves everyone in total awe. Nagi even asks Bachira if that is even allowed, and Bachira says that it is, but that it would not work normally. Tokimitsu then freaks out and calls it a super goal, and Ryu calls it stylish and tells him not to go doing that without telling him. Rin then starts to pick up the ball and says that he keeps saying this, but that he doesn't care at all whether they are a companion or an enemy, as they are all just lukewarm mobs to Rin. Rin continues to have this bored expression on himself as he tells them to just end it already, and that this is seriously just a waste of time. But that's when Isagi speaks up and tells him to hold up. He tells Rin that he is also betting his life here, and that he is playing football for the sake of his dream, the same as Rin. Rin is firstly quiet, but then asks what he means with dream, and tells him that it's not such a lukewarm, peaceful thing like that, explaining that the act of losing in soccer is the same as losing one's reason to exist, and basically the same as dying, looking really menacing as he says that soccer is a death match as far as he is concerned. Ryu calls him nuts, and Bachira adds in by calling him weird, but Rin then throws the ball back and tells them to come already, so that he can kill them, and that their lukewarm ball-kicking game will end here. Isagi just looks at him and calls it interesting, and says that he will also join this death match. They then restart the game, and Bachira gets the ball again. Isagi thinks that no matter how amazing Rin is, this is a 3 versus 3 fight, and a team battle where the one to score 5 goals first wins, which is why Isagi is determined to make Rin regret ever looking down at Isagi. Bachira then sees that Isagi is by Rin, so he decides to try, and yet again send the ball high up towards Nagi, but just as he is about to try and trap it, Ryu pops out from nowhere, and he heads away the ball. Isagi is amazed at how far that jump was, and Bachira says that Ryu saw through him. Ryu then gets back on the ground and says that he has descended, telling Nagi that his ball handing may be stylish, but if he doesn't let Nagi touch it, then he can't shine. Nagi calls it a mad jump. Ryu then starts running, and he gives it to Tokimitsu, telling him to give it to Ryu when he is in front of the goal. Tokimitsu then tries to do just that, but Bachira comes by and directs the pass a bit. Isagi compliments Bachira for making him able to get to the ball first. Isagi then has the ball but Ryu right behind him. However, he knows that losing the ball in front of their goal would put them in a pinch, and at this point, he will have to rebuild and carefully think the ball. But then out of nowhere he sees the ball flying, and Isagi says that Ryu was able to kick the ball while he was keeping it. The ball then goes into the net and gives Team Rin their second goal. Isagi looks at him annoyed and says that his jumping power is no joke, and with that reach that you normally can't find in Japan. He calls Aryu yet another monster who is almost unfair to go against. Aryu then says that it's settled and that on this field right now, he is the most stylish. We then just leave him and get to Isagi, who apologizes, but Bachira tells him not to mind. The match then restarts and Isagi passes Bachira. They then look at each other and Isagi asks Bachira how they will attack. Bachira sees that Nagi is being restricted and says that if his pass to Nagi is blocked, then he will have to slice through himself. He goes to Tokimitsu and tells him to just try and stop this. Tokimitsu is just afraid and asks Bachira to stop it. Bachira then tells Tokimitsu that his legs have stopped moving, but we then see Tokimitsu starting to freak out more and more intensely before he screams that he wants confidence as he starts to run with all that he can towards Bachira. Bachira is a bit shocked by the sudden change in speed, but says that there's no worries anyway as he gets behind him easily. However, it's not over, as Tokimitsu then turns around and is right by Bachira in an instant. Bachira tries to shake him off with a feint, but yet again, Tokimitsu uses an insanely fast cut to be right by him in no time. And before Bachira even noticed, Tokimitsu had already taken away the ball from him and left him stunned. Isagi, watching this from the side, thinks it's unreal and that his quickness is on a totally different level. Tokimitsu then screams that he wants a goal and he rushes towards the goal. Even Aryu wonders if he has gone nuts. Meanwhile, Nagi tells Isagi to stop him. Isagi sees that he is coming at a rapid speed, but he then screams at Isagi to get out of the way. He then gets right by him, and Isagi thinks that he can't react, so he tries to foul him to stop him. But even while having his hand on his shoulder, Isagi ends up being the one who gets turned around. Tokimitsu then looks happy as he says that he might be able to do it, and he scores his first goal. Isagi is just left on the ground, wondering what is wrong with him, before Tokimitsu lets out a big smile. But it quickly fades as he wonders if he is getting too happy, and if he will get hated if he winds up on a high horse. Isagi, who is still crawling on the ground, then says that Rin wasn't the only one who had an insane weapon, thinking that they just met, and that their teamwork is terrible, and that they are all fighting separately with just individual strength, while on the other hand, they have been fighting as a team from the start, and they have to rely on each other for their plays. So he starts to wonder what the difference really is, before starting to look lost as he looks at the scoreboard and starts to wonder if they will really lose. But suddenly Nagi comes by and tells him that it's amazing that there are guys like these still here, and says that soccer is seriously interesting. Isagi just says his name. Meanwhile, Nagi continues and says that it's thanks to Isagi that he is able to see this way and tells him that they should make it more interesting. Aryu wonders what is up with them as they are having a strategy meeting. We then get to them, who has just come up with a plan. Isagi then asks Nagi if he is the type to bring out ideas like that of his own accord, but he says that he isn't, and that this is his first time. Simply explaining that he hates feeling frustrated, so he doesn't want to lose anymore, and that it's not fun unless he wins. Bachira says that it's true, and Isagi then screams at them to go, and just like that the match is back in play. Isagi thinks that if Team Rin scores 2 more goals, then they will lose. He looks up on the field and sees that Nagi is being marked by Aryu, and that he won't be able to play freely, and that the same goes for Bachira, as his dribbling is pretty much sealed against Tokimitsu. However, they won't need to worry, as their plan is to keep in mind a 15-meter distance and attack as a triangle, explaining that Bachira is the anchor with his pass choices in this triangle, and that Isagi will lead them to the front of the goal. But since keeping the ball for a long time is impossible, Nagi and Isagi's play will be only one-touch passes, thinking that this type of attack tactic wouldn't work if it wasn't for his ball handling and Isagi's direct plays. Isagi then believes that they can actually do it and says that just like Nagi thought, if they can't win in one-on-one situations, then they just need to make a 3 versus 3 situation, and that with this they can control the middle field. But the finish won't be done by Nagi, but instead by Isagi, and that the moment they reach the front of the goal, measure timing and range, and with Isagi's eyes, he needs to run to the shooting point. Isagi then gets super fired up as he says that he can see it, and that the place is open. Bachira then smirks as he sees that Isagi is starting to break free, but just then, Rin comes in his way and tells them that it's way too lukewarm, asking Isagi if he really thought that Rin wouldn't be able to see the same scenery as someone of his level. Isagi is just in pure awe, and so is Bachira, to the point of his legs stopping to move, which Tokimitsu notices, and he tries to go for the ball, but he acts quickly and sends it over to Nagi instead. Isagi looks at this and says that it's a high-speed grounder pass and wonders if that can even work, and that right now he can't participate in the triangle. However, Bachira's eyes then light up as he tells Nagi to feel it and says that this is a present from him to Nagi, and as the ball is heading to Nagi, he actually realizes that it's spinning like crazy. calling it an interesting pass before he smiles and touches it with the back of his shoe, which lets the ball continue over Ryu. And just like that, Nagi is now free and is heading towards the ball. Bachira says, "Bingo," and Isagi thinks that this is amazing and that Nagi and Bachira just had their talents clash together, and just like that, Nagi scores. And with that chemical reaction, the scores become 3-2. They all then celebrate together. Nagi says that it was unplanned, but says that he had no idea that passes like that existed. Isagi is shocked, but Nagi says that all of Ryo's passes he has caught so far were passed to Nagi to do whatever he felt like doing with them at that very moment. But on the other hand, Bachira's pass felt like it was pushing an idea straight to his brain. Bachira smiles and says that he bets that Nagi could get used to it, and Nagi agrees before asking how many more they need to score. Isagi then just smiles and says that they control the midfield with a triangle, and at the last phase, based on his movements, Bachira's inspiration, and Nagi's instinct, they react to that and steal goals, calling it their soccer. Suddenly, Rin speaks up and asks if they are chit-chatting in the battlefield, and asking if they never learn, and he then sends away yet another shot right from kickoff, while telling them that he is stacking his life on each moment here. Nagi knows that they are in trouble, and Tokimitsu says that they will have yet another goal, but just as the ball is about to go in, Isagi pops up right there and is able to, in the last second, head away the ball, which even leaves Rin a bit stunned. Isagi saves the ball but falls to the floor, but he doesn't waste any time to aura farm as he tells Rin if he thought that he wouldn't be able to see the same scenery as someone as Rin, calling it lukewarm while looking at Rin intensely as he thinks that with these eyes of his, he will control the field. Isagi then thinks that he has smashed the specialties of all three of them into his head now, and that from here on out, he will rule it all. Anyway, we then see that Team Rin had gotten a corner kick. Isagi tries his best to predict what will happen as he thinks that Nagi is against Ryu, who's good at aerial battle with his tall height, and Bachira is against Tokimitsu, who's good at shaking off markers. He thinks that the position he should be taking is this space where he can react to both of them, and by filling this spot, he can decrease the range of passes in an ideal way. Thinking that he will cut through this pinch and connect it to a counter, and Rin then starts to get ready to kick the ball off, and as he does so, Isagi right off the bat notices that it's high and believes that he has aimed it at Ryu. But as the ball slowly starts to come down, Isagi realizes that it isn't right either, as it goes way past Ryu's head and right into the net, meaning that Rin just scored straight from the corner kickoff, and because of that, gave his team one more goal and left everyone else stunned. Bachira laughs and asks if he is serious, and Nagi just asks how they are supposed to stop that. Isagi, on the other hand, is super frustrated as he wonders if his judgment was off. He wonders if he could have stopped that if he were near the far side from the beginning, and if he did that, then he would leave space open though. Bachira then speaks up and says that if they take one more goal from them, then they will lose. Nagi says that he is right, but also says that if they score 3 more first, then they will win. Isagi agrees and says that it's time to strike back and thinks that there's no way that it will end here. All 3 of them pass around the ball to start, and Isagi then thinks that by using this triangle, they can control the field as they push through the middle field, and that he only have to worry about the final moments, saying that his last pass was read by Rin last time, and that it only went well because of the chemical reaction between Nagi and Bachira. But that kind of goal is not something that will work against the top 3 several times, which is why he has to make it happen next. The chemical reaction, as if he doesn't do that, then a goal won't be born. But then suddenly Rin appears behind Isagi and asks him how long he's going to circle these passes around, and asks if Isagi can really call himself a striker. Rin looks coldly as he tells Isagi to, "Let's end it already." Isagi's eyes then starts to fire up as he says that he doesn't want Rin to look down on him, thinking that if Rin gets this close to him, then the space behind him will be completely open, and he sees that, and then screams Bachira's name. Isagi runs with all that he can, and thinks that he will create the scent of a goal, and Bachira then sends away the pass. But just then, Rin is also somehow on Isagi's side, and he asks Isagi if he found a good space or something, before telling Isagi to at least study how a human's eyeball works. Isagi is just in pure awe, as he can't believe it, and says that he thought that he had completely taken him back, and wonders just how Rin is able to be right by him, wondering if he completely predicted his vision. Everyone is in shock, and Bachira tells Nagi to go and stop him. We then get back to Isagi, who thinks that even if he read him, then that reaction was way too fast, and that it was like he knew ahead of time. Isagi starts to wonder if the scent of a goal just now, instead of seeing it, was shown to him so that he would move to that position, and wonders if he was being dragged around and playing right into Rin's hand. Isagi screams out to both Bachira and Nagi to stop him, as Isagi has just realized that the one controlling the field was not himself but Rin. Thinking that with his current capability, he can't even measure how much the difference between him and Rin is, and that he can't tell the difference is just that overwhelming and despairing. Anyway, Rin easily gets behind both Bachira and Nagi with minimal effort, and he shoots the ball into the goal. But even then, Isagi wonders why, in spite of the fact that they are going to lose. His eyes and his heart are completely smitten by the beauty of the parable that his kick drew. But with that team, Rin won the game with the final score being 5-2. Aryu then asks Rin and Tokimitsu who they should pick. Rin, however, says that whoever is fine and that it doesn't matter. Tokimitsu then asks if Aryu is fine with a special someone, and Aryu says that he wanted that one as well, and they then point to Bachira and tells him to come and join them. Tokimitsu says that his passes was amazing, and Aryu agrees, and says that he will be assisting his stylish goals. Rin then speaks up and asks them how long they will keep on talking, and tells them to get a move on, before looking over to Bachira and calling him bullcut and telling him to stop spacing out, as Rin now holds his destiny. We then see them beginning to leave, but Bachira then speaks up and says that he wanted to stay with Isagi to the very end, but that he is going, since it's the rules. But he tells Isagi that he won't be waiting, and tells him that if he wants him back, then he will have to come and steal him, and those words leaves Isagi completely frozen.